Hi, I'm Alan Ross, and we are at Distributech 2025. We've got interviews with thought leaders, and we'd love for you to see what we've done here. Hey, thanks for joining us. The next guest is Alan Swade. Alan, thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
And I love the spelling of your name. It's perfect, by the way. Good. 4 or 5 areas that I want to get into, but the most important one is about you. Okay, so usually audience wants to know who we're talking about. What is your expertise? What is your pedigree? How'd you get into the power industry? Why did you get into the power industry?
Why did I get into the power industry?
Yeah.
You know, I've been with the company for the better part of 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Came up with through the industrial side back when they had the industrial business, and was brought in to run our reactive power business up in Fort Edward, New York, back in the maybe 2006, 2007 timeframe, and have been around ever since. Been largely on the P&L side, managing the businesses. Have come back, started off in sales early in my career, and have come full circle, managing the sales team here in North America.
You're the general manager of grid solutions for GE Vernova, right?
I am the GM for our commercial team.
Oh, okay.
In North America.
Okay, got it.
For grid solutions. For our power transmission business.
Okay.
Which is our substation equipment business.
Okay, well, we're going to get into that because the next question I got for you, in the last, let's just say 5 to 7 years, there has been more change in the power industry than I've seen 50 years before. What does that mean? And you can be particular about the general industry or about an area that you know about. You can go back to your career where you walked there. What's changed and where are we?
The first thing I would say is we have seen a few bubbles come through. Back in the 2006, 2007 timeframe, we saw another one maybe in the early teens. Those lasted for maybe a year, maybe 18 months.
A bubble being you just saw demand for your product.
Demand exceeding supply for a short period of time. We weren't quite sure how long it was going to last, and then it went away. This one seems like it wants to stick around. I mean, it seems like it wants to stick around, and not just for a handful of years here. We can look out and say this wants to have a 10, a 15, a 20-year run on for the infrastructure that has to get put in to do the things that the economy wants it to do is going to take that long.
And that's global.
That's global.
Yeah.
It's global, yeah, but almost in a hyperscale here in the U.S.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk about scaling in just a little bit. When the bubbles that happened, people didn't react and start opening. It seems like everybody is adding to their plants. Transformer manufacturers adding their plants because power transformers are 3 to 5 years out. And now, if you're at the end of it, if you're an industrial, all of a sudden the AI people, the data centers have gotten in front of you, utilities have gotten in front of them, and people are buying slots. That hasn't happened before, even with those other bubbles.
They really did.
Okay, let's hope this is not a bubble. Okay.
Well, we hope not.
Okay.
I mean, we hope not. There are serious decisions that are being made to invest a lot of capital.
Right.
In these facilities, and we wouldn't do that. Our competition wouldn't do that if you didn't see the long runway that the demand was going to be there. And when I talk about 10, 15, 20 years, we see the signs that that the market, we feel, wants to be there for that long run. With what has to be put in place versus where you are today with this transmission system.
Do you think it caught us by surprise? Because it seems like
almost, yeah. I would a couple factors. You come out of COVID. You and I didn't. We went home. Our demand went way down. We weren't out there as consumers. We took a lot of supply out of the market, and then on the heels of that, where we all once everything opened back up and we went out and bought, demand surged way ahead of supply. That was the first thing that happened. And then you're right, it was a bit of a surprise that on the heels of that this market's taken off like it has, with the infrastructure that needs to be put in place to handle this now. I think AI is a big thing that maybe we didn't have our eye on as how much demand that was going to drive. But that along with electrification of electric vehicles, just this general infrastructure of electrifying everything is what gives us this long run that we see.
Yeah, there's a tipping point. I think Malcolm Gladwell talks about the tipping point, and we didn't see the tipping point here.
Yeah,
It fell on us to a certain extent. One of the problems that the industry has, utility industry, is they tend to be very insular. They didn't really collaborate a lot. It was like, hey, I want you to tell me how much this is going to cost me, and tell me how much is this going to cost me. And you went to a bidding war with it. You know what they're doing now? They're going, help me, I have a problem. They're moving from what I would even call solutions-based, so you're solution selling, to outcome-based. Here's the outcome I need. Tell me how to get there. And that's changing the relationship in the go-to-market strategy. Correct? Or you see that?
I do see that, but the foundation of it all is that demand is far exceeding supply. So whatever that supply, or however that supply wants to be, whether it wants to be in an outcome-based, a turnkey type solution, or what have you, you talked about the capacity that we're all adding. It is demand driven. And I want to just talk on that piece for a little bit, because we've all been burned in years past where we've added capacity and it's gone away. And those little blips that I was talking about, those 12 years, 18 months, 2 year type things. And so I know we've looked at ourselves as saying, how do we add responsible capacity that we can adjust both in and out to align with where we see the demand going. And some of that might be new concrete in the ground. Some of it might not be. We're all trying to really exercise and get the most out of the current footprint that we have. I think we all are. And that's the first step that we're taking, and trying to maximize that, and then trying to make the good bets on where we think things are going, and where do we make more investments.
In the market, everybody talks about it. GE, Vernova talks about it. AI. It's like we're going to put these sensors on, we're going to get data in, and you're going to get all this data, and AI is going to tell you how to fix it.
Sure.
Is it real or is it hype?
Well,
you can say it's real for you. It's hype for the industry.
It is the load, the demand with all these chips out there running. The difference between the old data centers, right, where you're processing payments for Walmart or your this and that, is very transactional based. Much different than what AI is doing. I mean, AI is, you're running algorithms that are crunching data nonstop, and the power that it draws is considerable. Not only is it putting stress on the grid, it's putting stress on generation. Is there enough power? There's not enough power out there today.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have discussions with customers over the last, even 3 years ago, I was having discussions with customers who were asking us for a tremendous amount of equipment. And then you get into the details of, well, what were they really doing? And my first question to them was, where are you going to get the power? Because some of these data centers are a gigawatt or 2 gigawatts or 3 gigawatts. And that's a small city. You don't just get that from anywhere. Right. And it's surprising the answers you get sometimes. It's like, well, I'm not quite sure. And that is becoming more of a problem today than anything. This is where one of the greatest ways I see GE Vernova as being really well situated is we have a power generation, we have a gas power business that's on that front end. Right. We have very complementary businesses throughout this entire supply chain and life cycle here that we can really take advantage of. Yeah. Every aspect of our business is fully positioned very well for the space that we're in right now.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to say it's not hype, because I don't.
No, it's not hype.
And here's what
if it goes away.
Yeah.
If it goes away, it's probably problematic. Yeah. But I try and envision why it would go away, and I don't come to that conclusion, and I'm soon.
So there's the problem of scaling, and I know GE Vernova's got something that can hit every part of that. So there's a real problem for utility scaling, because if you run for the last 20 years with no load growth and suddenly you've got 8% load growth year over year. In Georgia, where I live, they opened a nuclear reactor, another one at Plant Vogtle, right?
Yeah, sure.
It was sold out the minute that thing came on, because North Atlanta is the second largest AI data center hub, and it was just sold out. So we're all in the state going, oh, our rates going to go through the roof? Well, they didn't, and they won't, because that AI center is paying the cost of that $5 billion overrun.
Sure.
It's quite amazing. And to hear Southern, it is. Southern companies say, all we're trying to do now is scale up, because they don't even know where if it's a peak, and they really don't even know that. Would that be a fair statement?
A very fair statement.
Okay.
We've got an idea of what that future wants to look like, but heck, it was only a handful of months ago where you came out with a different, a much simpler, maybe less expensive version of AI, and it scared the market. But it's how everything's going to evolve.
Yeah.
I think that's healthy.
Tell me about what your role is, Grid Solutions, it's North America or U.S.?
It's in North America, so it's for us. It's North America. I am so in our grid business, we have 3 grid businesses. We have a grid automation business. We have a grid systems integration business, which is I'll call it a projects business or turnkey business that takes both our grid automation products and our substation equipment products and turns them into a turnkey solution. And whether it be in AC substations, HVDC, flexible fax systems and things like that. So I'm on the substation equipment side, our power transmission business, and we serve a mix of utilities and industrial customers, largely in the transmission space, although we do have products and get into distribution as well. But our big product lines and the most of the business that we do is on the transmission space.
See, that's something too. The transmission grid really hadn't changed in a long period of time. Now transmission is having to change. Just like what I said, they were first going to talk about running transmission lines from the Plant Vogtle through my neighborhood in North Atlanta. It isn't going to happen. We're a bunch of, whatever we are, but you're not going to run. They had to go up and go over and come down. That's transmission. That's hard to do, because they're running lines that they really, it's not efficient, but nobody wants it in their backyard.
Yep.
We already have a transmission line. It's totally full. You're not going to be able to plug into that.
Sure.
So transmission in itself is going to have a lot of problems as we scale. Talk about that and how a utility that's where we need to be more appreciative. We need to be thinking ahead of what it looks like.
It's power flow. You need to get more power from point A to point B. And so the way I see it is you're going to see the big backbone across the U.S. is at 500 kV and 345 kV. That's the backbone for moving power. You'll see a 765 kV backbone. I think 765 is 3,000 miles of transmission line compared to 600,000 for everything else, 69 kV and above.
Yeah.
You'll see a 765 backbone come in, maybe not in the West Coast, but you'll see it Midwest through the East Coast come in to help move more power. You'll especially see it down in Texas. And you'll see big upgrades in the 500 kV and the 345 kV networks. My bet is if you were to map out where a lot of the equipment is shipping and where a lot of the substations are going in, it's at the intersections of the 345 or 500 kV lines and the high-speed fiber. Because you need both.
Yeah.
You need power and you need to move the data.
Yeah.
And so pick it on the map. That's probably where you'll see it.
That's excellent. Alan, thank you so much. I'm going to come back again and hold you to the prognostications, okay?
Thanks. See you.